anybody out there?
Every time I say that, I want to say Vietnam at the end, but no teleprompter. Okay, I'm going to use my notes then. So today's keynote, the title of it is going to be, Who Said Medicare Can't Be Fun? Disclaimer. Nobody in 10 minutes can discuss Medicare. It's too comprehensive. So if you want more details, all the details, go to my website, GaryMedPlan.com. You can also download this, which will give you every detail you ever wanted to know or didn't ever want to know. So everyone turning 65 has to deal with Medicare. Medicare is the primary health care plan for people who are retiring. Surveys of these people tell us a couple things. They're scared to death, it's complex, they have high levels of anxiety, and they're concerned about penalties for making mistakes. Why is that? It's because this is a very complex interrelationship between bureaucracies in which the small print rules the roost. I'm not going to tell you about all the small print, you can get that here. What I'm going to tell you is that there is one major decision that you need to make which will make everything work out well for you. The reason that you don't know what that is and that nobody who joins the field initially, a newbie, is going to know that because you have to spend time in the program to figure that out. Now the question is, why would anybody want to get into such a problematic area that's got so many bureaucratic rules and regulations that you'd have to have 3 licenses even to play in it? Let me tell you how I got here. So when I was trained as a financial planner and an enrolled agent, the last thing that the trainer said to me was, if anyone ever asks you about Medicare, send them to Social Security. So for decades, that was my mantra. I sent everybody to Social Security. Everybody was 45 and 50, never had any blowback. Finally, the phone started ringing back to me, and my clients were saying, Gary, I did what you said. I called Social Security. They put me on hold. What am I supposed to do? I go, quite frankly, I'm a financial planner. I don't know anything about this stuff. No financial planner wants to deal with Medicare. It's too small. It's got too many rules and regulations. Well, they said, well, what are we supposed to do? I go, I don't know. The phone kept ringing. I finally said, I don't have a referral for you. This was back before the times of Human Op even. This was really back a long ways. So I said, I got no referral. I'm going to have to get licensed and certified. And so I started working with my clients and their friends. What I found out is that people don't know what they don't know. They also don't know what they need to know. When I talked to them further, they didn't want to know any of it. What they wanted was somebody who knew what they needed to know. They needed a Medicare guide. So that's the role that I fell into.
How long ago?
It was before Human Ops, very long time ago. So what I'm going to do is deal with what the newbies need to know that they're not going to be told. They can't research it. You can't find this out by reading everything that I've suggested that you look into. So we're going to do this in a kind of a fun way. So we're going to do this through a guided imagery. And so to get everybody set, I want everybody to put their feet both flat on the ground, sit up straight, take in a deep breath, let it out. And if you feel comfortable, just relax and let your eyes, lids drop and get into a real quiet place. Now what I'd like you to do is to imagine an elephant. Can you see one? Do you see that? Is it brown? Is it gray? Is it a Mr. Zeus elephant? Is there nothing there? Okay, this is the way I want you to think about this. I'm going to read a script. I don't have any slides. You're going to create the slides. You're going to create the slides. I'm going to read the script. Follow along with me. Imagine you're in front of an arcade, in front of an amusement park. The gates are still closed. Everybody's milling around. You have that ticket in your hand. You're waiting to get in. The doors open up. You go in. The crowds go off to the left, those under 65. Off to the right go the people who are 65. They head towards a tunnel. This tunnel looks exactly like the tunnel of love, or the tunnel of horror. You get into a bumper car. We're going to follow two couples through this tunnel. First one will be George and Martha. Everybody knows George and Martha. They're the people that you know. They're sitting in the bumper car. They go through the first door. They go into a tunnel. It's illuminated by pastel lights. There are scenes of people having picnics on the side. They come to a fork in the road. And on the fork, there's another door. The door above the door says, GW's Cherry Orchard, I cannot tell a lie. Underneath that, it says Medigap. They go through that door, and they're greeted by a gentleman who looks like what your image of a founding father is. And he says to them, welcome. Medicare is designed to deal with all your medical problems. Medicare and Medigap can cover the things that need to be covered during your retirement period, health-wise. We're going to give you in this plan the ability to see any doctor that you want to see, go to any facility in the United States, your choice. You choose what the treatment plan is going to be. How does that sound? George says, well, I'm really upset about it. I mean, there's so many details. I mean, George is really getting flipped out. And I say, well, George, we've got some people we want you to talk to. So go around the outside of the orchard, and you're going to run into Rhea. She's the emotional breathing coach. She's going to get you back in her body. Then we're going to go to Elizabeth. She's going to help you figure out how to get through the financial, medical end of how you fund all this stuff. We're going to then send you to Michael, who's going to give you some ideas about how to take your equity in your home and turn it into something you can use because you're cash poor. So George and Martha go through that. They come around to GW and he says, well, how do you feel now? George says, well, I feel a little better, but there's still details. I got forms to fill out. I mean, what happens next year? I don't know what's going on. Well, GW says, okay, George, here's what we're going to do. Medicare is going to pay for a Medicare guide for you. He's going to help you with the forms, the details, and he'll be around there every year as long as you need him. How's that sound, George? Wow, that sounds really good. George and Martha look at each other and they go, bring on retirement. The next party outside, Bonnie and Clyde. Now, despite what you may have heard, they did make it to retirement. So Bonnie and Clyde go into the tunnel. It was a fake movie that you all saw about Bonnie and Clyde. So they go into the tunnel. The tunnel is illuminated by bright lights. There's crashes of music. They get to the fork, and there's a right turn. And above it, it says, don't waste your money on medical. Medicare Advantage will cover it. Save your money for retirement. Medicare Advantage. They go through the right door. They meet a guy named Mr. B. He's in a sharp sharkskin suit. He says, hey, you've come to the right place. There's no need to spend your money on medical stuff. Medicare Advantage will cover it. No premium, no drug plan premium, free dental, free vision, free hearing. And you know what? We'll even wash your dog if that's necessary. Well, Bonnie goes, you know, I'm used to having health care plans with have contracts, and I like to read the contracts to figure out what's going on. I never really understand them, but I feel reassured because I can read them. And so she says, well, Mr. B says, okay, so we've got a team of attorneys. They've written up this glossy thing with everything you need to know on it. All you need to do is to sign it. And by the way, President Bush and Congress approved this plan. All your friends are joining up. This is the thing to do. Well, Bonnie says, I don't know. No. Clyde says, this sounds good to me. Let's do it, Bonnie. She says, well, if everybody's doing it, it must be the right thing, so I'm going to do it too. Flash forward during that first year of Medicare Advantage enrollment. Bonnie goes, has a medical, and she's fine, no problem, whatever. Clyde starts to develop a few symptoms. He goes back to his HMO, and he says, I'm having a little trouble. And they go, well, let's do some tests. Time drags on. Let's do some more tests. Time drags on. And they finally say, well, we don't know, but we think we should just watch. And Clyde goes back to Bonnie and says, you know, I'm not really comfortable here. So Bonnie says, well, why don't you have your rich aunt, you know, help us out here? And so the aunt has a concierge doctor. And Clyde goes to the concierge doctor, and he comes up with a whole different perspective. And so he goes back to his HMO and says, hey, you know, I got a different plan here. I'd like you to think about that. And they go, we're not going to think about that because that's not what we do. He says, well, I want to appeal this. And they say, go ahead. But what Clyde finds out is they have more attorneys than he does. He doesn't have any. So there's nothing that he can do. But then Bonnie and Clyde talk and they say, well, you know what? Maybe it's time to go outside the Medicare Advantage system and get this help that we need. And they say, well, okay. So they look at each other and say, now we're going to find out exactly how rich your aunt is, because they're going to pay 100% for whatever they get. Okay, so simplistically, I hope we all enjoyed that deep breathing. It never hurts to do that. Medicare is complex because you don't know what you're going to need to know in the future. They want you to sign up today. You have no experience. You don't know what's coming. But when you sign up today, you lock in limited alternatives. What I want to do, what any Medicare guide should do, is to say, okay, here's where you are today. What I've seen people do is be over here tomorrow. We have to have a plan that deals with today and tomorrow. You have to have the flexibility to make changes if you need to. If you'd like to continue this discussion in full detail with every fact you never wanted to know and all the history that you need to understand, you can sign up for an appointment with me at my website, GaryMedPlan.com. Good day, Vietnam!